Welcome to the Sharon Cliffe Podcast. This podcast shares the tips, tricks, learnings, and lessons to connect self, mind, body, spirit, and passion. I'm a curious entrepreneur, intuitive coach, mentor, wife, and mum to 4 amazing humans who enjoys living life on my terms. Turn up the volume, let's do this. Today on the Sharon Cliffe Podcast, we have Charlett Albert. Now, Charlett, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you work with.
Wonderful. First of all, thank you so much, Sharon, for having me today. So I'm a sales coach and feminine leadership mentor, and I help women build a sustainable business online, pretty much. So I started off in the corporate world. I was in sales and marketing for almost 10 years, and everything changed when I became a mommy. And first, I had to go back to my corporate job, but I was so miserable. I was so sad. I wanted to be a mommy for so long. And then I just couldn't be with her. And I was devastated. And I remember that day so vividly, where I was in the bathroom pumping milk for my baby girl. And I was like, what am I doing? I wanted to be a mommy. And I also love to help people. I love selling a service. So I was like, okay, how can we do this? And it just occurred to me, I can help women sell their services, their products online. And it took me a little bit to figure it out. I started off in social selling first, and I sold wellness products, and I built this really, really fast to 6 figures in sales, but I was burned out. I was hustling nonstop. So I had my own business. I was with my baby girl, and I was just so tired of just always having to make money. I started my own business to have more freedom and be with my family. And then I was working so much more. And then I was like, okay, something has to change. And I hired a coach who really taught me about embodying the feminine part of ourselves and the masculine. So creating a masculine structure for your business so you feel really safe in your business, but then also change who you are as a woman or grow and amplify your potency, which then elevates the client that you're attracting. So we found this beautiful balance in my business. And I then I still have my social selling business, but I added coaching to it because I really like, my passion is so much in helping women build freedom for themselves online. So the last year I've been working one-on-one mainly. I also had a couple of group programs, but working with women, building a sustainable business online, selling with ease, because it doesn't have to be like icky, and some people just feel it feels slimy or sleazy. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a way to sell with ease, and I call it the feminine way. And that's something that I've really been kind of coined for myself, and that's something that I'm working on with women.
Yeah, okay, I love that. And I think, and that's the first point that you mentioned there, is that you wanted to be able to have a business that gave you the freedom to be able to, be with your family and, to be a mum. And I think a lot of the times we start businesses for that reason, and we follow that same path that you did, is that we then get so into our business that we then are so busy and we're hustling and we're working all these hours that we then forget the reason why we started. It's because we wanted the freedom and we wanted the flexibility, and then we find ourselves in that hustle as well. I wanted to talk about when we just we just spoke about the hustle with the business, and there's always the hustle and what you said before about the icky side of business and that real salesy push side of it. And I find that there's a lot of women now that really want to tap into that feminine side. And you talk here about creating consistent income the feminine way. So I'd love to know more about that. Can you explain about how you actually tap into that feminine side of it without the icky and that sort of sales side, and feeling that you've got to hustle? How do you do that with your clients?
Absolutely. So first of all, I want to clarify a little bit, what does it actually mean, the masculine side and the feminine side? So first of all, we have both energies within us. It doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman, like every being has masculine and feminine energetics within. So the masculine is when we're really focusing on a plan. We have a to-do list, things that we like to check off. When we like our sales strategies is masculine. Like we have to do lead generation, we have to build community, we have to make offers, we have to sell, we have to close, we have to follow up, like create a beautiful experience for our clients. All those steps is very masculine. It's focusing on the outcome, on a result, on a goal. All of those things are masculine structures, and we need to have those. So those are really important to have in place and to practice consistently. So then the feminine within us can feel safe. And what's the feminine? The feminine is about connection. It's about building relationships. It's about speaking your truth in communication. It is about flow and creativity and just movement and allowing whatever comes through. So all of those things are super important, but we can only be creative and flowy if we feel held in our business. So we do need both aspects in our business. It's so crucial, because also if we only practice the masculine, that's when we burn out. That's when we lose the joy in our business. So it's so important to find that balance. And I love working with my clients. First of all, like, what kind of business would serve you? I like to build a business where you enjoy your life, like building a business around your life versus creating a life around your business. So really turning things around, because it is possible. Yes, we also have to be realistic. It does take work to build a business. So then we create a structure that you feel really held in. Like, what does it look like for you? How many hours do you want to work? And what kind of income structure is what is supporting you? How much money would you like to have come in every single month? And I like helping women with maybe having a membership, having some kind of a subscription, maybe accepting payment plans. Like, what are different ways that we can price your offer so you have income flowing in every single month, so you feel held in your business? And when we have that, when we have our basic needs met, then the flow, the creativity, the feminine side can come through, and then we can elevate our brand. But first we need to have that solid foundation set, so then we can elevate that brand. So this is the thing I work on with women. It's like the first thing is the foundation and really building a brand online. Like, I'm going to talk about it probably a lot in this podcast. Like, building a brand is key. Really understanding how to build trust and get yourself out there, and working on the long game versus trying to make a short sale like all the time. There's a lot of people who are really good marketers, and they always sell. They're always just looking for the instant gratification, for the hit. That's marketing. But we really want to focus on building a brand for the long game. How do you build genuine connection? How do you create content that converts and build trust? How can you show up in your feminine so people trust you and want to come back? And when we master that feminine side, what I've seen is we attract high caliber clients who are willing to pay in full, clients who show up to actually do the work, clients who get extraordinary results because they do implement. They write you great testimonials, and they actually refer you to others. So when you master the masculine and the feminine side in your business is gonna blossom.
Yeah, beautiful. Love that. And so before we get to building the brand, how do we find what our superpower is? Because we hear that it's it's been a bit of a buzzword, tap into your zone of genius, or really find out what your superpower is and then build a brand around that. So how do you actually find out what your superpower is?
So it comes back to two different aspects. So the number one thing is you want to think about is, what are your core values? Like, what is it that you, Sharon, you, Charlett, you listening in the audience, what is it that you truly stand for? For some people, it's freedom. For some people, it's their family is their priority, community, connection, joy, health. Like, what are the things that really, like, your biggest why? Also, like, what keeps you going? What are your values, not only for your business but for your life? Like, and you see that, how do you prioritize your day? Really, like, what do you spend your time on every single day. And if you're not sure, like, track, what is it? Is it about connecting with friends and family? Is it taking care of your body? Is it making money, building wealth? I mean, what are the things that really gets you out of bed in the morning and you're like so excited to start another day? So what are your values? And I recommend you write down 3 to 5 things. If you're not sure what your values could be, you can just Google values online and you just look at what feels really close to your heart. And then the next thing you want to be doing is really connect to your story. Like, what is it that got you where you are today, and what got you to start this business in the first place? So it's because of a personal story, of some kind of experience or some skills that you have acquired over your lifetime, and now you want to share it with other people. For some people, it's because you learned a really difficult lesson. And sometimes it's also because you see a gap in the marketplace. You see something, okay, there's people, for example, there's a lot of women who don't like to sell. There's 78% of women who really don't like to sell. I'm like, I love selling and I can show you how to sell. So for me, I have a personal story, but I also see a gap in the marketplace. I can help you sell your offers with ease. So that's the next thing you want to do. And then you decide, what is that feeling that you want to activate within your audience? How do you want to make people feel? That is so important. And every single time when you're creating a piece of content, you want to come back to those values and that feelings that you want to amplify within your audience. For example, like when you create a piece of content, you want women to feel confident, empowered, courageous to make big, bold moves. Maybe you want to be a little spicy, like you want to trigger them. Maybe you want to make, bring them back to like a sad time in their life, and so they move. I mean, what are the emotions that you want to use in your content? And always links back to your values, and it links back to your personal story, your why on how you started. So those are the things that really help you stand out, and no one can take that from you. No one can take your story and your values and the feelings that you want to amplify within your audience. This is your superpower. And what I help people do is really amplify that and be so potent in who you are. So that has a lot to do with, getting to know yourself and embodying that highest version of yourself. But the more you become potent in who you are, the more the selling part becomes easy. And when you feel so like you don't really know, I tell you, the best thing you can do is like unfollow everyone on social media. Stop looking what people are doing. Put your blinders on and really spend time with yourself. Live a life that you love so much and create content out of your own life, your own inspiration, and shut everything else off so you can really hear your values, hear your emotions that you want to evoke in your audience.
Yeah, I think the 2 key points there for me was with your content, it's having it so that it focuses on how your customer's going to feel and how you want to make them feel. And the other thing that you said just then is, unfollow everyone and actually use your voice and be you, and don't copy other people. So when we then come to talk about content, because we don't want to be copying other people, and we really don't want to start, really delving down what other people are doing, because we want to be ourselves. We want to be our unique person. And there's so many different platforms out there, and we don't want to be across every single platform. And the rules change on the platforms all the time. The algorithms change and the features change, all that sort of stuff. The thing is, we know we've got an amazing product or service, and we know that people need it. We know that people need to hear our message. But I find that so many women in business struggle with the content side of it, because they're great at what they do. They just don't know how to articulate it, or they don't know how to write content. But the next thing from that is, you can write all the content in the world, but how do you write content that converts without spending lots of time on it, without burning yourself out because you're sitting there trying to think of what to write and trying to show up on every kind of platform, doing all the different things and trying to keep up with what everyone's posting? What are your top 3 tips for writing content that converts?
Great question. So yes, content is key, and I really encourage everyone to create a piece of content almost daily. Like the more consistent we are, the more visibility we're gonna get. So creating good content, there are pretty much three categories I talk about. So the number one thing is you want to create content that positions you as an authority, as an expert in your field. And that can come through educational posts, and it also can come by sharing client testimonials or sharing your own celebrations, your own wins. How can you show that you really know your stuff? And we have to understand the frequencies of the different platforms. So for example, Instagram is super quick, right? Like people scroll really, really fast. So in order to be seen as an authority, you've got to be potent. You've got to make a point really, really fast. Like if things are too long, people are just going to scroll right by you. So how can you stop the scroll? Is usually by having some really good, big, bold pictures, fonts, really coming straight to the point, and really just educating people, sharing that you really know your stuff. And I honestly encourage you to don't spend much time on it, because it needs to be potent and needs to come from you. Your inspiration needs to come from your own life and from your own experience. Stop looking what people are doing, and when things come through, type it up and go. Say it as you would say it in real life. The moment we edify it a million times, we dilute our message and it doesn't come through anymore. So really make it potent, make it quick, say it as you mean it, and see that it's so potent. Because what happens is, so many people I see, that they want to explain their point. They're afraid to rock the boat. They're afraid to offend someone. But when we do that, is you're actually speaking to no one. You want to stop the scroll, especially on Instagram. It has to be fast. It has to be potent. You have to be seen as an authority. Facebook is a little bit different. You can elaborate a little bit more. You can talk more about feelings. People take their time on Facebook. It's more about connection. It's about family more. That's a little bit different, but let's focus on Instagram to keep it short. So authority position in content, number one. The second thing is emotional storytelling, taking people on a sensory journey. That could look like you can talk about your own transformation, where you've been and where you're now, or where you are now and where you would like to go. Or you talk about your clients' stories, where they've been when they started working with you, where they're now, shout them out, share their wins. So that's one thing. You can also paint a picture about, imagine what life could look like. Speak to people's desires. I'm all about talking to desires more than focusing on pain points. I think pain points are really like 2020. Like, let's talk more about desires. Like, paint that picture. What else is possible for you? Let's talk about that and take people on a journey. Imagine that. Imagine if you make this big, bold move today. How could that look like? More money, more health, finding that man, build that relationship. How can we do this together? And then come back to the feelings we talked about. How can you activate those feelings? Empowerment, activation, confidence. How can you evoke that in people's system? Because when we mobilize people's emotions, we mobilize their money. So how can you tap more into that?
Yeah.
So,
and I think sometimes we just overcomplicate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We overcomplicate it. We look outside of ourselves for inspiration, and we dilute the message. We just don't stand out anymore. And the thing is that other people who've made it, who are very successful, they have very different strategies. They want to go to different places, and it's not that when you copy paste, it's not bad. It's not like terrible content. It's probably good because someone amazing wrote it, but it's not going to land for your audience. They're just not, they can't point their finger on it. They can't say what it is, but it's not going to encourage them to buy. They can feel something is off. They can't say what it is, but it does not land. The message does not land. The message only lands when it comes from you, through you, and you put it out there. That's how you sell. The moment you stop this, watch your business explode. Like, really amplify your potency and stop worrying about making a mistake, and just speak your truth. Get it out there, because your truth is your brand. Your truth is your brand. So, and then the third step of content, or the third type of content is, I did educational, I did the emotional storytelling. And the third step is really about amplifying their feelings. It's about getting people to move. It's like activations. It could be like a little, a triggering quote or something that evokes people to move. You want to mobilize their emotions. And it's really good to show your personality as well. You want to activate people in your content. For some people, they really push a trigger. Some people really want to know more focused on evoking positive emotions, but focus on like little pieces of content that spark your own personality and really focus on bringing out certain emotions.
Yeah.
So those are the three types.
So when we've got the content strategy right, we're doing our own strategy. We're not copying people, because the thing is too, when you try and copy someone, it's their voice, it's their message, and people are going to see through that anyway, because when they actually get into your container, whether they do one-to-one coaching with you, or they do group coaching, or they are involved in one of your offerings, they're going to see that there's a disconnect anyway. So all you're actually going to do is repel people once they get to that stage when they're going to buy from you. So that's why I'm a true believer of, as you said, show up as you can use your language, you're sharing your story, and people are going to connect with that. So obviously, we're creating the content now, but how do you get visible so that you can get the clients without having to do paid ads? Because a lot of us either don't have the money to invest in ads, or we just go, you know what, they're too complicated. We've heard so many stories around, they did a Facebook ad and it cost all this money and there was no return, or, I had to pay thousands of dollars for someone to manage my ads, and then I had to pay for the ad spend. So, you're out there and you're trying to be visible, but how do you do that without paid ads and without having to show up on every platform and be online all the time?
Mm-hmm. I do have to say it does take work. It does take work, especially in the initial stages. So I have a little note here. I'm like, okay, what places can I show up today when no one knows me yet? So how can you show up and create mental real estate in people's minds? So the number one thing is you want to be really consistent in who you are and how you show up. So that means creating content consistently, and also don't change who you are all the time. Like people change from mindset coach to life coach to relationship coach to life coach to mindset. It's like going back and forth every 2 seconds, and like people don't remember you as anything anymore. Like you keep changing your bio, you keep, and understand we evolve as humans and we change. But stick to one thing for at least, 6 months to a year, and really perfect that and embody that, so people know, okay, for sales, I go to Charlett. For business, I'm going to go to Sharon. For mindset, I go to Andrea, whoever it might be, like people just know you are the go-to person for that one thing. And then you show up consistently. Then there are different ways of how you can gain visibility. So definitely post content all the time. Find a couple of Facebook groups where your ideal clients are at, and really come from a place of adding value. If people have questions, answer them just genuinely. You can put little questions in there. I put questions in groups all the time. I'm like, who here has some questions around sales? And then people are like, bop, 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 bop. And then I start a conversation with them, and I take them to the DMs, and then I have a system in place of then how do you first make the initial contact, and then how do you bring them closer to you? So what are the steps that you can do to bring people closer to you? I think Facebook groups are amazing. I think being on podcasts is incredible. I tell people to go on many, many podcasts. Just every time you are on a podcast, you are exposed to different audiences, and their audience is exposed to you. Like it's a win-win for everyone. You can be a guest speaker in someone's program. There's some great Facebook groups out there where people are always looking for guest speakers for their coaching programs, or people looking for podcast guests. I really recommend that. Then there's some amazing networking groups, possibly, if that's more your jam. And this is something I love helping women with. Like, okay, what is it that you enjoy doing? Because you have to get out there. And even if you're an introvert, I'm an introvert too, you have to get out there, but there's a path for you that feels really, really good. It could be that you do little market research calls with people for like 10 minutes and you just get to know people and understand them, and or doing little 10-minute or 50 minutes connection calls with people. I know it takes a lot of time, but it's also nice to create that mental real estate. Like, find a path that works for you. Join Entreprenista, join Hey Mamas. Like, there's so many like beautiful networking communities out there. There are many different ways to get yourself out there. You just have to find a path that feels good to you and stick with it. I recommend doing at least 30 minutes to an hour a day to really getting your message out there. I could go on. I have so many ideas of what else we can do to get you out there, and it's all free. So yeah, if you have any questions on that, just send me a DM. I'm happy to help you with that.
Well, I think it's the same, whether it's content that you're creating or whether it's, that visibility side. If you're comfortable on video, show up in videos. If you're comfortable in the written form, then do guest blogs, or write some articles and submit them out there as editorials, or do newsletters. If you're a confident public speaker, then you can go and speak at events. You could do TEDx talks. It just whether you're doing content or you're trying to get yourself out there, it's got to be whatever you feel comfortable with, And I think that's probably part of it, is that we don't do it because we don't feel confident in that kind of forum. But it's like, we'll just find what works for you. If you are written, then write long form posts and just post video, post photos. If you're comfortable on video, do reels, do lives, do that, do more of that. Unless you want to do a combination and start to work with someone who can help build those skills for you. Because you know what, the more times you turn up live, the more comfortable you'll get doing it. The more times you put yourself in front of the video, the more confident you'll get in doing it. So I think it's just something that the more you practice it, the more comfortable you'll get and the better you'll get. And I think the biggest takeaway is just take the action. Like you said, just put yourself out there. So thank you so much for sharing those insights. So if you just had two tips for someone who wants to get out there and be seen and be visible and get sales through the door with content that converts, what are your top 2 tips?
First thing is build a brand. Show up consistently, build a brand to build trust, focus on the types of content I talked about, and really play the long game. Always not trying to make a sale today, but really quality content and amplify your potency, speaking your true voice, build that brand that people recognize, that people can identify with, that people want to look at. That's the number one thing. Build a brand, building that genuine connections. And that's probably the second step, is like really focus on building genuine connections, not cold DMs, not like, just to sell, but really find humans that you love, that you can help, that you can serve, and just build connections. I love doing 10-minute calls with people and build that mental real estate this way, because I love talking to people. I find it easier than doing the DMs, but if DMs is easier, you can, help people through stories, through Facebook posts, whatever, connect with many, many people in a way that feels good to you, to build that awareness. Build a brand, build awareness. Those are the 2 things I would say are crucial in the beginning stages of your business.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for your time today. If any of the listeners out there want to connect with you to find out more about how they can work with you, what's the best way to contact you?
I love it when you come to see me on Instagram. I'm very active there, so you can find me there at Charlett Albert. I'm also on Facebook. I have a free Facebook group that's full of sales resources and tips around sales and feminine leadership. So come join us there. And I just love connecting with you. Just say hi in my DMs and just start a conversation. I love just connecting with people.
Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I will drop a link in the show notes to your Instagram. So this is obviously on the Sharon Cliffe Podcast across all different platforms, but also on YouTube. So if you actually want to watch our interview today, you can watch it on YouTube, and the link will also be in the show notes. Thank you so much for showing up with such amazing enthusiasm and energy. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will want to reach out to you and find out more about how they can step into their feminine side with their superpowers and get out there and create content.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sharon, for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of this week's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, ideas, and suggestions for future topics for the podcast. So please get in touch on Instagram, The Sharon Cliffe, or through my website, sharoncliffe.com.au. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please go and rate it, leave a review, and subscribe so more people can find out about it. Until next time, that's all from me.